You were seeing a guy, and by seeing a guy, I mean sleeping with a guy. Things were really great for those first 5 dates, until they weren't. Suddenly, he did the slow fade, texting less frequently, not reaching out for platonic plans, not driving the relationship forward. If you heard from him at all, it was a random text to say hi or a plea for you to come to his house. Sooner or later, it all fell apart. And from that experience, you learned nothing. Yes, you've repeated that pattern again and again and again. Meet a cute, charming guy, sleep with him before you know him too well, and wonder why you keep getting hurt. Today, I'm going to suggest one minor change to the order of things. Don't sleep with a guy until he's your boyfriend. Not because I say so, because your way of doing things hasn't exactly been making you happy. Stick around and I'll explain. I'm Marc, Katz, dating coach for smart, strong, successful women and your personal trainer for love. Welcome to the Love You podcast. Keep listening to understand the real reason not to have sex with men too early. So this is a recurring theme. I've been doing this for so long. My ideas are, I'm so bored with my own ideas. They're all cliche because I've said them so many times. But one of the principles of Love You is that you should not sleep with a guy who is not your boyfriend. I have a long blog post called Why Women Should Make Men Wait for Sex Part 2, which is worth the analysis that I'm going to give you here in shorter form. If you like sleeping with guys because it feels good and you're having fun and you're a liberated woman, go ahead. If you keep sleeping with men who turn out to be shitheads and you get hurt by it, maybe you should stop sleeping with someone until you know if he's really boyfriend material. Not terribly controversial, but seems to be pretty hard to execute because clients who come through Love You do it all the time. I'm just going to tell you a story of a couple of them right now. One Love You client, and again, I won't do anything biographical to identify her, but she was sleeping with a guy for 3 months, and the guy, to his credit, was acting like a boyfriend. I mean, he did everything a boyfriend would do. He would check in on her every day, and he was really sweet and consistent and kind, and he embodied all the boyfriend behavior, right? And so she slept with him before she got the title, before they clarified everything. She did that. And so now she's sleeping with a guy for 3 months, not just seeing a guy for 3 months. And at a certain point, which is what always happens when you start sleeping with someone who doesn't have the job title of boyfriend, she wants to know, like, all right, what are we? Where is this going? I'm afraid to say anything. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Right? And you put yourself in that position by sleeping with him. So I said, hey, I hate to play dating coach on you. I wouldn't have recommended you put yourself in this position, right? But you've been sleeping with him now for over 2 months. You've been seeing him for 3, sleeping with him for 2. He has no incentive to change. He's acting like a good boyfriend. But I'm a little uncomfortable with this situation. You're a little uncomfortable with this situation. Truth is, if you ask this guy what his deal is, he's acting like a boyfriend. I think he's probably going to want to be your boyfriend. I think he's already come to that conclusion. She has a conversation with him, and turns out, the guy flips out. He doesn't know what he's looking for. He's not ready for commitment. He's really enjoying it as he is. He needs time to think. He needs a break. This is the wrong answer. But how great, not great, terrible that she waited 3 months to do it. She could have not had sex with him at all. She could have had this conversation at 2 months. But at least she had the conversation and found out, oh, this guy is not on the same path that I am. Good thing I had the courage to say something instead of trying to keep quiet because I was afraid of it blowing up. So how do we break these patterns? And let me play the other side of it. It's not to say that this is impossible at all for 2 people to have sex first and fall in love afterwards. Happens all the time. I remember reading a statistic that like 1/3 of all marriages start this way. So with the broken clock being right twice a day, this broken clock is right a lot more often than that. because most people dive in really, really fast. I'm giving advice to people who are sick of the status quo. They don't like sleeping with men and then not knowing where they stand. So here's the reason you may want to think twice before sleeping with a guy who's not your boyfriend. Number one, you don't know him that well after a few dates. You don't know him that well after 2-3 dates that last for 2 hours. You don't know him well after one long, epic 10-hour date. It may feel good, it may feel exciting and wonderful, but you really don't know what you're getting into. You don't know whether he's really emotionally available. You don't know how he's going to treat you over time. There's only so much information you can gather from the performance that comes with dating, even if someone is being really authentic and vulnerable and is really charming and connective. Number two, you don't know if he's interested in you or if he's interested in sex. And they're not going to tell you. No guy's going to be like, hey, just letting you know, I'm going to try to use you later tonight. I have no intention of ever calling you again. No guy will say that. I mean, very rarely will a guy say that, because he's probably not going to get very far if he does that. So when you think he's excited about you because he's looking at you in the eye and telling you how beautiful you are and how much fun he's having and what great chemistry you have, and you're being seduced as if he's telling you the story of his future, he's saying that he wants to be married to someone one day and that you're beautiful, but that doesn't mean that you guys are on this trajectory. It means he thinks you're beautiful. He'd like to sleep with you, period. Understand, if you don't know if he's interested in you as a human being, right, or in just sex with you, you probably shouldn't be having sex. And number three, you don't know if a guy is boyfriend or husband material after such a short period of time if you're sleeping with someone who's not your boyfriend. You have to let the story play out. Right? How do you know? I mean, again, I run a very small business. How do you know if someone is a good employee until you hire them and you give them some time to do their job? Some people really rise to the occasion. Some people actually never rise to the place that you want them to go. But if you give them the job too quickly without them proving themselves, it becomes a lot harder to fire them. So back to our CEO metaphor. You don't know if a guy is husband material, much less boyfriend material, and if you give him the status accorded with a boyfriend, meaning he gets to have sex with you, you may be giving that guy the job a little bit prematurely because you don't really know what he's made of. So I want you to think about every guy that you've ever dated, every guy you ever hooked up with, right? And we use these terms loosely, but if you go back on your life and think, how many guys did I make out with? How many guys did I go to second base with? Whatever your standard is for messing around or hooking up or having foreplay. How many of them turned out not to just become boyfriends, but became great boyfriends, like guys that you could actually fall in love with? It's a minuscule number. Right? The number of people again, not to say this publicly, but I've done stuff with hundreds of people. The percentage of those people who I turned into girlfriends because I wanted them as girlfriends, right, is what? I'm making this up. 10 girlfriends? How many of them turned out to be good girlfriends or people that I fell in love with? 4 out of a few hundred? So why would I think that? Why would your numbers be any different than mine? Why would you think that this next guy that you're excited about, who you messed around with, has any better chance of being the next one? So what's the cost? What's the cost of slowing down? Right? Just to assess him. Why would you think that the next iteration of this is going to be any different than the past? So as I said, our central metaphor in Love You is that you're the CEO. And when you take off that CEO hat, you sleep with a guy, you're giving him the hat. And now you have to somehow prove to him that you're worthy of the job. He's hiring for the role of girlfriend instead of you're hiring for the role of boyfriend. You don't want to be the intern. You don't want to constantly have to work hard to prove that you're good enough in bed and you're going to be a great girlfriend. No, he already got the reward. He already got the health insurance before he started doing the job. So you don't want this guy to get all the benefits. You don't want to get emotionally invested without any sense of control. Right? I don't like the old cliche, why buy the cow when you get the milk for free, but I think of my client who I told you about at the beginning, who was sleeping with a guy for 3 months. What incentive does this guy have to step up as a boyfriend if he's getting all the benefits of being a boyfriend without having the title, without looking towards a future, without having to commit? What incentive does he have? Right? It's not wrong in the moral way. I just don't find it very effective on your behalf. Right? And what's worse is that you tend to not be able to see things clearly when you're sleeping with a guy, because your energy is focused on trying to convince him to commit to you or waiting for that to happen instead of evaluating whether he's worthy of your commitment. It leaves you waiting. It changes you emotionally once you've slept with someone. So, next metaphor for today, and I'm using visuals because I'm on YouTube. You can't hear it on the podcast, but you're getting on a bus. And you want to read the sign on the bus before you hop onto the bus. If you're in Chicago and you hop on a bus because it's moving in one direction and you're like, oh, I'm just going to grab onto this bus. That's the newest guy. And the next thing you know, the bus ends up in Boston, but you wanted to end up in LA. All because you didn't pay attention to what was on the sign of that bus. That's what happens. People just grab onto people and have no clue where that bus is headed. When all you have to do is give it a little bit of time, walk around the bus, read the sign, but we don't. An old friend of mine, Julie Furman, talks about how she finds it interesting that people are more likely to have sex than to talk about sex. We're more likely to sleep with someone and say nothing than to say, hey, I think you're really attractive. I don't sleep with anybody I'm not in a relationship with, but if what we have is real, and we're still going strong a few weeks from now, you're in for the night of your life. Perfectly reasonable thing to say, perfectly good boundary. Nobody would think twice about understanding where you're coming from on that. So there are people, reasonable people, my clients even, who resist this because they like having sex with men that they want when they want them, and that's totally cool. Those exact same women too often end up heartbroken after having sex with men who have no interest in being a boyfriend. Even guys who are not particularly nice guys at all. And this pain is completely avoidable. So please, for your benefit, not for mine, slow down. Take a month to go around the bases, have some platonic dates mixed with nights at his house, right? Kick him out when you're going a little too far. Tell him there's more in store. Lay down the lie that you don't sleep with someone. Right? See how he follows up by phone, by text, how quickly he makes plans to see you again, if those plans always revolve around the physical. And determine over a month or so whether he's worthy of being your boyfriend before you sleep with him. At that point, you'll have enough information to decide not only whether you sleep with him, but whether you tie that to being a boyfriend. He says, I want to take my profile down and be with you. You say, great. Now you could sleep with him and feel safe that when you wake up the next day, he's going to call you. Why? Because you already know that he wants the job. So do you take your time to consider whether a guy is guaranteed to call you the day after sex? Or do you just sleep with guys and keep your fingers crossed that they call you? Share your thoughts below, and I look forward to reading them and seeing you again here soon. My name is Marc Katz. Thanks for tuning into the Love You podcast. For more episodes like this on YouTube, please click on the subscribe button, ring the bell, and choose all to ensure you get notified when new content comes out. If you're listening to the audio podcast, please share an honest review on Apple. More reviews equals more awareness of the Love You podcast and more love in the world. And if you heard this audio, you listened to this video, and something struck you, hey, I'm ignoring all of this advice, and you want a community and a coach to hold you accountable to make better decisions, right? The kind of decisions that a confident woman would make to be able to know how to get a high quality man to commit to you, please go to www.evanmarckatz.com, click on the link, right, to watch the video. It's right there on the homepage about confidence, fixing your broken man picker, and attracting quality men. When you're done watching that video, there's an application. Fill it out and join hundreds of other smart, strong, successful women in Love You Live so that you can finally join a coaching community and have the support of a group of people all committed to the same goal of getting you the unconditional love that you deserve. I'll see you in class. Talk to you soon.